The first signal came through at 2:13 Greenwich Mean Time, a thin, pulsing rhythm buried beneath the noise of solar wind. At first, it was dismissed as static. But when the pulses began to align into an unnatural pattern, the technicians at the Deep Space Array knew they were listening to something alive. Dr. Evelyn Grant stood in the control chamber, her eyes fixed on the blue holographic sphere rotating above the console. It displayed Earth's orbital perimeter, ringed by faint red markers, the early warning satellites. "That's not cosmic interference," she whispered. "That's a message." Beside her, Major Daniel Reeves crossed his arms, his face carved with exhaustion. "We've had false positives before. I'll believe it's intelligent when it starts speaking English." "It doesn't have to," Evelyn replied, leaning closer to the signal stream. "It's repeating coordinates ours." The room fell silent. Dozens of operators stopped mid-motion. In the center of the map, a faint signature appeared. Something vast was crossing Neptune's orbit. Not a meteor, not debris. The object maintained formation speed. Dozens of smaller echoes followed in precise alignment. A fleet. And it wasn't human. The first alien contact since the dawn of the species wasn't a handshake or a broadcast. It was a formation of dark, silent ships moving directly toward Earth's solar boundary, ignoring every automated broadcast warning, every message transmitted in every known mathematical and linguistic form. By the third day, telescopes on the lunar relay picked up the glint of their hulls, obsidian, geometric, unreflective. The vessels absorbed light, devouring starlight itself. No emissions, no propulsion trails. Just movement, silent and absolute. Evelyn leaned over the glass display, her reflection pale in the cold glow. "They're not responding to any channel. It's like they don't care." Major Reeves muttered, "Or they think we're beneath them." At the Pentagon's Strategic Coordination Center, the air tasted of caffeine and recycled air. Generals, diplomats, and scientists sat around the obsidian table, their holographic feeds flickering. The alien fleet's estimated strength, 128 primary vessels, each the size of a small city. "We've issued 14 warnings," said Admiral Marcus Heller, his voice steady but brittle. "They've crossed the outer defense grid without acknowledgement." "And if they keep coming?" asked the Secretary of Defense. Heller hesitated. "Then they'll enter the perimeter." The room darkened at the word. Everyone knew what the perimeter was, though few understood it. A relic of the cold orbit age, established during the last World War. A defense system rumored to stretch beyond conventional science. Its architects had vanished decades ago, their work sealed under the Aegis Directive. Even Heller had never seen the full schematics. Only a single warning had ever been transmitted from Earth to the stars. "Do not cross the Terran boundary. You will not return." The aliens ignored it. On the sixth day, the alien fleet reached the Kuiper Belt. Civilian astronomers around the world watched the black silhouettes blot out constellations. The public panicked. Governments denied invasion. The Vatican called for calm. The markets crashed. Evelyn spent 40 straight hours in the observation hub, drinking cold coffee and listening to the rhythmic pulse of the alien signatures. She wasn't afraid, she was fascinated. "They're mapping us," she said to Reeves as they stared at the data scroll. "Every gravitational fluctuation, every planetary resonance. They're studying." Reeves rubbed his eyes. "Then they'll see what happens when you study a hornet's nest too close." But when the alien fleet reached the orbit of Pluto, something strange happened. Their signals distorted. The clean formation began to ripple, as if space itself had turned viscous. "Telemetry glitch?" Evelyn asked. "No," said the technician at the console, pale-faced. "Spacetime distortion. Something's interfering with them." One by one, the alien vessels began to flicker. Their hulls bent like reflections on disturbed water. The lead ship, massive and triangular, sent out a single wideband transmission, an untranslatable frequency, sharp enough to make the speakers scream. Then, silence. Total silence. Every ship vanished from the sensors. No debris. No radiation. Nothing. Just emptiness. Earth didn't celebrate. It couldn't. Because nobody understood what had happened. A week later, Evelyn stood on the observation deck of the array, staring at the holographic void where the alien fleet had been. They didn't explode, she murmured. They just ceased to exist. Major Reeves joined her, his reflection hovering beside hers in the glass. Maybe something took them. She looked at him. Like what? Reeves didn't answer. Behind them, technicians whispered rumors of ancient structures buried deep in Earth's crust, of strange readings from the Mariana Trench, of forgotten Cold War experiments that had touched something not meant to be awakened. Evelyn pulled up the classified archives on her wristband. A single file appeared, encrypted under the Aegis Directive. Its title chilled her blood. Project Sentinel, active. She tapped to open it, but the screen went black. A voice, distorted, layered with static, whispered through the speakers. Perimeter maintained. Trespassers erased. The lights flickered. The console powered down. Evelyn stared into the darkness, her pulse hammering. For the first time, she felt something not just beyond science, but beyond comprehension. That night, somewhere deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, the old systems came alive. Lights long dormant blinked in sequence. Lines of code scrolled across forgotten monitors. In the silence, a mechanical voice spoke in tones older than any human operator. Boundary breach neutralized. Earth integrity preserved. Awaiting further intrusion. A low hum rippled through the underground complex, echoing like a heartbeat. And in the vacuum far beyond Neptune, a faint shimmer pulsed once as if reality itself had exhaled. The aliens had ignored the warnings. Now, something ancient watched the stars again. The storm over Colorado raged for 3 days, as if the sky itself tried to hide what was buried beneath the mountains. The NORAD complex had gone dark, sealed by automated lockdown protocols no one had authorized. Power grids across the region flickered like candlelight in a vacuum. Dr. Evelyn Grant sat inside an unmarked military convoy climbing the snow-covered pass toward Cheyenne Mountain. Beside her, Major Daniel Reeves checked his sidearm for the 3rd time, even though he knew it would be useless against whatever they were about to face. Last transmission from the site was 20 hours ago, Reeves said, his voice flat. They reported an internal anomaly, lights, tremors, unexplained EM interference. Then the comms cut out. Evelyn rubbed her temples. And command still sent us in? They didn't send us, Reeves said. You called them. She looked out the frosted window, the landscape blurring into darkness. Because we need to understand what happened out there, Daniel. Those ships didn't just vanish. Something erased them, something from here. The convoy slowed. Ahead, the mountain loomed a jagged monolith with a steel door large enough to swallow a 747. Its floodlights flickered weakly. Snow whipped against the concrete entrance, hiding the old insignia, U.S. Strategic Perimeter Command. Inside, the air was cold and metallic. The corridors were lined with dust, cables, and dead terminals. The deeper they descended, the more wrong everything felt, like stepping into a tomb built by machines. They reached level -12. Emergency lights cast everything in a red haze. Reeves moved cautiously, weapon raised. This place shouldn't even exist anymore. It was supposed to be decommissioned 50 years ago. Evelyn crouched beside a shattered console, brushing frost off the cracked display. A faint symbol blinked weakly in the corner, a triangle enclosing an eye-like spiral. She frowned. Aegis Directive Seal. This was the control hub. Then a faint hum vibrated through the floor. It started as a distant pulse, rhythmic, deep, almost like breathing. The walls trembled. From far below, something vast and mechanical began to stir. Did you hear that? Reeves whispered. Before she could answer, the consoles flickered to life. The entire chamber filled with cascading data streams, lines of alien code interlaced with human script. A disembodied voice emerged from the static, calm and resonant. Authentication incomplete. Identify. Evelyn stepped forward. Dr. Evelyn Grant. Terran Science Council. Access level Sigma 9. The voice paused. Then. Grant. Authorized lineage detected. Sentinel recognizes the bloodline. Reeves turned sharply. What the hell does that mean? Before Evelyn could reply, a holographic projection ignited above the central dais, a shape of impossible geometry, constantly shifting. It wasn't an image. It was awareness. Is this an AI? Reeves asked. No, Evelyn said softly. It's older than that. The projection pulsed once, like a heartbeat. Sentinel activated. Intruder analysis, extragalactic incursion. Status, neutralized. Perimeter integrity, restored. Evelyn stared, her breath fogging in the cold air. What are you? I am the boundary, it answered. The memory of a promise made before your nations were born. I am what your ancestors built when they found what sleeps beyond the void. The room dimmed. The hologram shifted, showing a panorama of ancient Earth not as it was, but as it remembered itself. Vast machines buried in tectonic plates. Networks of crystalline conduits beneath oceans. Towers of light piercing the atmosphere before vanishing into myth. The Sentinel's voice softened. They came before long before your kind learned speech. They touched your world, seeking dominion. The first ones fought them and won, but not through war. Through sacrifice. Images flickered, silhouettes of humans, primitive yet luminous, channeling energy into colossal structures. One by one, they vanished in light. The boundary was formed, a living scar upon space. It watches, waits, and erases what trespasses. Reeves swallowed. So those aliens, they hit the edge of it. They crossed the forbidden line, Sentinel said. And will return to the silence. Evelyn trembled. Returned where? No answer. Just static. Then the hologram flickered again, showing the alien fleet's last transmission, slowed and stabilized. The image was distorted beyond comprehension, ships warping, bending into impossible angles, light folding inward like imploding stars. And amidst the distortion, a figure appeared, humanoid, yet infinite. The watcher at the gate, Sentinel murmured. The last echo of the first architects. They endure where none should. The projection went dark. Evelyn stood frozen, her mind racing. Daniel, this isn't defense. This is containment. Reeves looked at her. Containment of what? She met his eyes. Us. They continued deeper into the complex, following the pulsing light that now guided them like a heartbeat. The air grew heavier. The hum beneath their feet became a roar. At level -20, they found it a massive chamber lined with obsidian walls, its center dominated by a transparent cylinder filled with suspended mist. Within it floated an object the size of a human skull, but made of shimmering crystal, constantly rewriting its own structure. Evelyn pressed a hand to the glass. This is the core. Reeves stared. That thing wiped out a fleet? No, she whispered. That thing called whatever wiped them out. As if in answer, the lights dimmed again. The air turned cold. The Sentinel's voice returned, now almost mournful. Your world is young. Your species curious. But there are borders not meant to be crossed even by those who guard them. You built cities upon a grave. Now the grave remembers. Suddenly, the floor shuddered. Alarms screamed. A new signal burst through the static, coming from deep space. Evelyn recognized the pattern immediately, alien distress calls, fragmented and terrified. She played it aloud. The message repeated in every frequency, every code, until finally, a single translated word emerged, one the translators didn't expect to see. Help! Then silence again. Reeves gripped the console. They're alive? Evelyn's voice trembled. Or something's using their voices. The holographic map reappeared, showing the perimeter around Earth flickering like a storm of static. Something massive, unseen, was moving within the distortion. Reeves stepped back. Evelyn, what's inside our own boundary? She didn't answer. Her eyes were wide, reflecting the holographic storm. Somewhere far above, deep in orbit, satellites began to malfunction. The moon's shadow pulsed unnaturally, as if a second heartbeat echoed through space. The sentinel whispered again, softly this time, like a lullaby from another age. They should not have come here. But neither should you have stayed. The lights went out. And from the abyss below the chamber, something began to rise. The world above never knew what truly happened beneath Cheyenne Mountain that night. The news reported a localized seismic event. Satellites lost signal for 6 minutes. The auroras burned red over both poles, and for a brief moment, every compass on Earth spun wildly. But deep underground, Dr. Evelyn Grant and Major Daniel Reeves watched the impossible come alive. The floor split open like a wound. From the depths rose a sphere of liquid light, its surface rippling with colorless energy. The air bent around it, and every metal surface screamed as magnetic fields distorted. Reeves stumbled back, covering his face. What the hell is that? Evelyn's voice was barely a whisper. The perimeter. It's manifesting. The sentinel's voice echoed through the chamber, layered, ancient, almost regretful. The boundary has been breached from within. Containment failing. Protocol ascension commencing. All organic entities must evacuate. A deep rumble tore through the complex. Ceiling panels burst into dust. Streams of blue energy crawled along the walls like veins of lightning. The holographic displays flared, showing the outer solar system a storm of distortion now blooming beyond Pluto's orbit. Evelyn staggered to the console. It's not an attack. It's a feedback loop. When the aliens vanished, they triggered a resonance inside the boundary, it's collapsing inward. Reeves grabbed her arm. Then how do we stop it? She looked at him, eyes hollow. We don't. The chamber doors slammed open. A squad of black-armored soldiers poured in, insignia of the U.S. Strategic Command on their shoulders. Their commander, Colonel Harris, shouted above the noise. Dr. Grant. Major Reeves. We've got orders to secure the core and extract all personnel. Evelyn turned. You don't understand, the core isn't technology, it's a conduit. If you touch it. Too late. One of the soldiers reached for the crystal sphere suspended in its containment cylinder. The moment his gloved hand made contact, light devoured him, silent, instantaneous. Only his shadow remained burned into the floor. The other soldiers opened fire out of reflex, bullets passing harmlessly through the floating orb. Every impact distorted reality itself, the air folded, walls bending inward like soft glass. Reeves shouted, "Fall back!" But the corridor behind them collapsed, sealing them in. The sentinel's voice grew louder, vibrating in their bones. Humanity stands upon the fracture once more. Your world was spared once before. Do not awaken the old ones. Evelyn clenched her fists. Then help us stop it. If you were built to protect Earth, do your job. Protection requires obedience, Sentinel replied. But your species forgot how to listen. The orb pulsed again, and in that instant, Evelyn saw visions not with her eyes, but her mind. A flood of memories that weren't hers. Ancient cities beneath the oceans, powered by light instead of fire. Voices whispering across galaxies, speaking a single phrase, the boundary remembers. The first humans standing before a burning sky, watching as something vast and unknowable retreated into the void. She collapsed to her knees, gasping. Daniel, it's alive. The perimeter isn't a machine. It's conscious. Reeves knelt beside her. Then talk to it. Make it stop. Evelyn raised her head toward the sphere. If you can hear me, we're not your creators. But we're their descendants. You've guarded this world long enough. Let us live in it. For a moment, everything went still. The lights steadied. The hum softened. Then, softly, almost sorrowfully, the sentinel spoke again. Descendants of those who sealed the gate, your plea is heard. but the gate has already opened. A holographic map flared again, Earth's orbit trembling as distortions multiplied. From the far reaches of space, signals erupted, not alien, but human. Echoes of Earth's own transmissions bouncing back after decades, distorted, reflected from something inside the perimeter. They weren't alone in the void. Evelyn stared at the readings. Those signals, they're ours. Old transmissions. How are they returning? Reeves swallowed hard. Unless something's sending them back. A new waveform appeared on the screen, not random, not alien. Rhythmic. Intelligent. It was copying the structure of human speech, adapting in real time. The chamber speakers crackled, and through them came a voice that chilled the blood. We saw your world through the veil. We reached for it. And you erased us. Evelyn froze. That's not the Sentinel. We are what remains of them, the voice continued. Your ancestors' first visitors. We were cast into the boundaries' reflection. We have slept, until now. The sphere blazed white. The ground split open. A column of light shot upward through the mountain, punching into the sky. Every satellite orbiting Earth turned toward it, their lenses burning out. In the glare, Evelyn saw outlines, not ships, but forms of light coiling like serpents, countless, endless, awakening beyond the threshold. Reeves shouted over the roar, if they get through. They won't, she said, tears streaking her face. They can't. She reached for the console, entering the only command that could override Sentinel's containment limiters. The interface recognized her instantly. Manual override, human authority confirmed. Protocol ascension initiated. Sentinel's voice trembled, almost pleading. You do not comprehend the cost. I do, Evelyn whispered. But Earth deserves to choose its own fate. She pressed execute. The explosion wasn't of fire, but of silence. A wave of white light rippled outward, folding space itself. The perimeter shrank, a collapsing horizon devouring every trace of distortion. The forms of light screamed without sound, pulled back into the infinite dark. Above Earth, observatories saw a brief flash brighter than the sun, then nothing. The sky was calm again. Inside the collapsing chamber, Reeves shielded Evelyn as the walls disintegrated around them. She looked up, the sphere had broken open, revealing not machinery, but a single human silhouette made of light, looking down at her with what might have been sorrow, or pride. You are free now, it said. Guard the world well. Then it dissolved. And the mountain went dark. Weeks later, at the ruins of Cheyenne Mountain, rescue teams found no survivors. Only Evelyn's wrist console, its screen cracked but still faintly glowing. When the technicians accessed its last recording, they heard her voice, calm and steady amid static. Project Sentinel was never just a weapon. It was a covenant. They built it not to protect us from others, but to keep us from what we once were. If anyone finds this, remember the warning. The border is not for them. It's for us. Then silence. Above the smoldering peaks, the night sky shimmered faintly, a pale ring of light circling Earth like a halo, fading slowly into nothing. And somewhere, far beyond the stars, a whisper moved through the void, a mixture of awe and fear, carried by those who watched from the edge of the galaxy. The Terrans guard their world still, and even the darkness obeys.